Kim Jong-un says the U.S. will face, quote, a very grave situation following President Joe Biden's remarks about North Korea during his joint address earlier this week.
On Iran and North Korea, nuclear programs that present serious threats to American security and the security of the world. We're going to be working closely with our allies to address the threats posed by both of these countries through diplomacy as well as stern deterrence.
North Korea's foreign ministry director called President Biden's remarks a big blunder, reflecting an outdated policy. He said, quote, the U.S. will face worse and worse crisis beyond control in the near future if it is set to approach the DPRK-U.S. ties, still holding on to the outdated policy from the Cold War-minded perspective and viewpoint. While on ABC this week, the president's national security advisor, Jake Sullivan, remained confident that the administration can find middle ground with North Korea.
Our policy towards North Korea is not aimed at hostility. It's aimed at solutions. It's aimed at ultimately achieving the complete denuclearization of the Korean Peninsula. And we're prepared to engage in diplomacy towards that ultimate objective, but work on practical measures that can help us make progress along the way towards that goal.
For more on this and other foreign affairs issues, we're joined now by Charles Kupchan. He is a senior fellow and director of European Studies at the Council on Foreign Relations and an associate professor of international relations at Georgetown University. He also served as director of European Affairs on the National Security Council during the first Clinton administration. Welcome.
Good to be with you.
All right. Well, the war of words between this administration and North Korea is heating up, obviously, with the Kim Jong-un comments indicating his determination to continue his country's nuclear program. Do you expect North Korea to test President Biden with provocative actions? And if so, how will this administration respond?
Well, usually when you see Kim Jong-un act out like this, he's crying for attention. And so he's hoping that the Biden administration is going to engage, talk to the North Koreans about their program. And it worked in the sense that the Biden administration has come out and it has said we have a new policy. Exactly what that policy is hard to say. It looks like it's going to be some kind of sequential deal with the North Koreans. They rein in their nuclear program, we bring down the sanctions. If there isn't movement on the diplomacy, one can expect Kim Jong-un to do other things to get attention, including potentially launching more missiles, and then we see the tensions escalate.
All right. President Biden has also planned a return to the table with multilateral approach after 4 years of President Trump's America First policies. Do you think the other nations in the G7 will be quick to recalibrate?
I think they've already recalibrated in the sense that in Europe, in Asia, among democratic allies, there is a sense that the United States is back. It's a team player. It's rejoined the Paris Climate Agreement. It's talking to Iran about a nuclear deal. And democratic allies around the world are breathing a sigh of relief. At the G7 meeting that's going to take place the next few days with foreign ministers and then a G7 summit in a couple of months, I think the big question is, will this new effort to build better relationships with democratic allies advance the ball on the big issues of the day? Climate change, the pandemic, dealing with Russia and China. Right now, we don't yet know.
All right. Well, India has been invited to the summit. Do you think that's an acknowledgement that despite the current economic climate in the country and the COVID-19 issues they're having, that the world expects India to recover and come back into the fold?
Well, I think the invitation of India reflects a couple of different things. One is that the G7 is a group of democracies, and India is a big democracy, in fact, the world's largest, and so it deserves a seat at the table. Another factor is the United States is trying to enlist India to try to help stand up to China, to hem China in the Asia-Pacific region. And then, as you said, there's a serious pandemic going on right now, huge spike in infections. No question that part of the discussion of the next few days will be how to get more vaccines to India and how to deal with this crisis.
And today, we mentioned earlier in this newscast rumors of a hostage deal between the U.S. and Iran. Do you expect another more comprehensive nuclear deal anytime soon? And how do you think the G7 summit itself will play a role in the negotiations?
I'm not expecting a deal immediately because we're still in the early stages. I think there will be a lot of discussion among the G7 players about what the next steps are, about how to keep the dialogue going in a way that advances the conversation with Iran. But there are a lot of issues on the table, so I don't think we should expect a breakthrough in the next few months. I think we're looking at later in 2021 for some kind of serious deal to come together.
And what are the biggest, you mentioned them before, but what are the biggest and most important agenda items at the G7? Talk a little bit about what you're expecting.
Well, normally the G7 is supposed to be a group where people come together informally, they spend a few days together, and they deal with the long-term agenda. So that agenda could be, how do we avoid the next pandemic? How do we get the global economy back on its feet after this pandemic? What's our long-term strategy to fight climate change? But oftentimes what happens is the foreign ministers or the leaders get there and they have to put fires out. They have to deal with what's happening in India today, or they have to deal with Iran's nuclear ambitions, or they have to respond to what we just saw today from North Korea. And so they'll constantly be balancing the immediate agenda, the urgent, with the longer term agenda, the important. And so I'm guessing over the next few days, Secretary of State Blinken will be trying to do both, talk about the over the horizon issues, but also deal with the immediate urgent agenda.
All right. Well, Charles Kupchan, hopefully we can follow up with you afterwards and get your perspective then as well. Thank you for speaking with us tonight on Prime.